Hello Stampers, Kelly Acheson at stampabove.com coming to you from Menasha, Wisconsin. Today's tip video is going to be all about ink. So I get a lot of questions from my followers about which ink to use for what. So I thought it would be great to put together a video that just covers the ink and what they're for and what colors they come in, and just the details on ink so that I would have a great reference to send them to when they ask the question. I can say, here's a video all about ink. Watch this. And so we're going to get started, and I also am going to have a really nice reference for you. You can download a PDF file, print it out, and you can have that reference that you can keep in your stamping library of great information. So let's get started. I'm going to flip my camera around so I can show you exactly what I mean. Stampin' Up! Just recently provided us with this great reference sheet all about ink. So I thought it was a perfect opportunity to talk about ink and what ink you need for what project and so on and so forth. So the first thing we're going to talk about is our classic ink. Now, classic ink is a water-based dye ink. It's acid-free, it dries really quick, and it comes in stackable flip-top cases. You open these just like a compact and slide them into place, pull them all the way out, close them just like a compact. The other nice thing is that they have these little knobs on them that will make them stack into each other. So you can see that this will fit right in there and this one will fit right in there, so you can stack them up for really easy storage. What do you do with classic ink? Classic ink is my go-to. It's for your general stamping. You can also use it for watercoloring. You can take and press your ink pad. Well, let me show you a better way to do it. Take one of your acrylic blocks, press it into your ink pad to get some ink on it, and then you can take an aqua painter or a blender pen and you can paint with it. So that's just a really easy way to do it. Easier than what we've been doing in the past, which is pressing the bottom of the ink pad to get ink to pool in here. You never want to take an aqua painter and do this to your ink pad. That's not going to be very successful. You want your ink in here or put it on a block like this. And what colors do these come in? They come in all Stampin' Up! Colors. So our complete color family has a classic basic ink pad. Next, I'm going to talk about craft ink. And craft ink is just a little bit different. This is one of those inks that is really fun to stamp onto a darker colored cardstock. And I'm just going to stamp that right here, and you can see on Night of Navy, it shows up really good. Now here's a good example. I thought this stamp was clean, but it actually wasn't. What do you do when you've stamped the wrong color in your ink pad? How do you fix that? You're going to take a baby wipe, and I always have these sitting on my desk. These are the Huggies One and Done. They're my favorite brand. And you're just going to blot out any color when you stamp into any type of an ink pad with the wrong color. And that seems to have taken away all that petal pink. And then if you need to, you can re-ink with the re-inker. That's one thing I kind of forgot to say. With the classic stamp pads, we also have re-inkers that go with all of them. And I always tell all of my customers, if you're going to buy an ink pad, get the re-inker right away or with your next order. And I just take a spoon and spread this in. That'll get your ink down in that ink pad so that it's ready to stamp. And the stamp off. Look at how dirty that was. I can't believe I did that. But, you know, hey, these things happen, and always when you least expect them, right? So I'm going to use my Stampin' Chamois. This is the way I choose to clean my stamps. This is a fabulous stamp cleaner. And now we're going to try that again. And now we're not leaving pink all over. And we can stamp that flower. Okay. Your craft ink pads, and you will see that it says craft at the top here. This is an older ink pad. They do come in the newer styles now. I'm just going to wipe this off so I don't make a mess. These are a rich, permanent ink. They're acid-free. They dry slowly, but you can speed up the drying process by using a heat tool. And the pad comes uninked, and you ink it with a craft pigment ink refill. Okay, so it comes empty, and you do what I just did to fill it up with ink. Okay, let's go back to this. I forgot to mention a couple things. With craft ink, you can use this for embossing. You can stamp and sprinkle with embossing powder and then set with a heat tool. And like I said, it's also good for stamping on dark cardstock for an opaque look. And the only craft ink that we have right now is white. All right, next we're going to move to Memento ink. Memento ink is a water-based dye ink. It's acid-free, it's fade-resistant, it dries quickly, and it cleans easily from your stamp, so you won't have any staining. I use Memento ink for all general stamping. Stamping images for no smear coloring with Stampin' Blends too. So this is the ink that I use with our Stampin' Blend alcohol markers, which are these little beauties. My favorite way to color now. The color that we have in my store is Tuxedo Black. We don't carry any other Memento ink pads. Next, we're going to take a look at StazOn ink. StazOn ink is a different kind of ink. It's archival and it's permanent. It dries super quick. It's waterproof, which means you can stamp on non-porous surfaces with it. It can be used with rubber and photopolymer stamps, but will stain photopolymer stamps. It stains the rubber ones too. Clean using a StazOn cleaner. Wash StazOn cleaner from the photopolymer stamps after use with water and mild detergent. So we do have a StazOn cleaner that you can clean your stamps with. Now, stamping images for watercoloring with aqua painters, blender pens, watercolor pencils, and Brusho. This is your best product. You also want to make sure that you have a re-inker to go with this. If you happen to leave this ink pad open on your desk, it will dry very quickly because it is a very fast drying ink. You're going to want to make sure you have the re-inker in case that happens. So when I stamp with StazOn, I stamp and I immediately close it up. That's just what I do to keep my ink pad nice and fresh. You can stamp on non-porous surfaces like I said. Non-porous surfaces would be like window sheets, vellum, cellophane bags. We've even stamped on ceramic tiles, and you can bake them for a little bit and make some really neat coasters with StazOn ink. The only color we have is jet black. Last but not least is our Versamark ink. Versamark ink is a watermark pigment ink. It's acid-free and it dries slowly. This is the perfect ink to do embossing with. You can stamp and sprinkle with any color embossing powder and then set with the heat tool. And Versamark also, when you stamp just with the Versamark on your cardstock, you'll see that it makes a really neat watermark. And that's just really cool for backgrounds. This gets a little darker as it dries, but it's a really neat image. So no matter what color cardstock you have, when you stamp it, it's going to be just a touch darker. So that's really fun. It's slightly translucent for a tone-on-tone look. And the only color of Versamark ink that I carry is clear. So there's our rundown on all the inks. I hope you find that this is has been helpful for you. I will have this sheet available as a download on my blog. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll want to go to the description of the video, which is under the video, and click on See More or whatever the little tab is there, and it'll give you a link to my blog where you can download and print this out so you can keep it at your fingertips and know which ink you need to use for what type of stamping project you're doing next time. You can click right up here in the top corner to go to my blog if you'd like to order any of the ink pads. There's an online ordering button in the right-hand column. I always appreciate all your orders, and don't forget to click down here to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You don't want to miss anything I have coming out. Once again, you guys, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to spend with me. Bye-bye.